Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Sporting Fan Podcast. Today, I'm here with three-time Paralympic gold medalist Will Martin. How are you going
Yeah, I'm
today,
pretty good,
mate?
thanks, Stephen. How are you, mate?
Good, thanks. Thanks for coming on the podcast. Really
Oh, thanks for
appreciate
having
it.
me on the show today.
Well, you're someone that is quite an inspiration on the sporting front because being a Paralympian, obviously, either Olympian or Paralympian, you have to go sacrifice a lot. But being a Paralympian, it's always that little bit harder. So let's start basically from the start. So you're obviously a swimmer. So how did you get into swimming? Did you start it before? Did you start from a young age, or?
Yeah, so I learned to swim when I was little, about 2 years old. Mum caught me climbing the fence to our pool area, and once I got to the top of the fence, I realised it was a bit far to fall down, so I just decided to stay up there and call out for Mum. So yeah, anyway, learned to swim and did all that, and then kind of thought nothing of it really, and then I was 6 years old and had a ruptured cerebral aneurysm, and spent 10 days in hospital, came out all good, and then about 2 months later it ruptured again, and this time led to a stroke, and had to learn how to walk and talk and do all those sorts of things all over again. And the local swimming pool, they got in contact with me and they said, "Oh, how you going, mate? We're willing to give you 6 weeks worth of intensive swimming lessons just to help in your rehabilitation." And we just went, "Oh, yeah, that'll be amazing." So did the 6 weeks of just one-on-one half an hour sessions, and it was really good, and just kind of picked up swimming from there, really.
What did the doctors say with that? Were they concerned that you getting in the pool that you'd potentially freeze up, like you like obviously not mentally, but like physically just freeze up, like your body just wouldn't react in the water and you'd potentially cause problems?
No, the doctors didn't really say too much in regards to it. They kind of just said it's probably a good idea for rehabilitation.
What is it about swimming? Because I know there's a lot of other Paralympians. For example, Ellie Cole as well. When she had her cancer and lost her leg, she had swimming as well, and a lot of other Paralympians are along the same lines. What is it about swimming that helps with the rehabilitation?
Yeah, I'm not too sure, honestly. I know that it's obviously a low contact sport, so so that means that you're not really getting tackled or anything like that. It's more so you're just making yourself more mobile, and it kind of helps in the aspect of recovery, I guess you could say.
Okay, so with that, so with this swimming team, so you went to St Joseph's and Nudgee. Were you always on the swim team growing up, or was it something that you just did in the kind of in the background outside of school?
I did do it in the background outside of school, but from grade 8 to grade 12, I was part of the GPS swimming team, and every year I'd swim in a relay, just because there were a heap of swimmers on the team that were faster than me that got picked in those individual spots. So I'd swim in the relay each year, and we'd try and get away with a win. And I remember grade 8, my relay team was the first win that we had that night, so I was pretty stoked when I saw that number 1 come up next to my name on the board.
Yeah, I could imagine that would be a massive thrill. Were you always like an athletic child, or like did you play any other sports outside swimming, or was it always swimming?
I did do tennis lessons here and there, but my main focus has been swimming pretty much my entire life.
Okay, so then you moved on to the national team in 2019. So that was, I would imagine, a year after you finished school. What was that like, going moving up to that kind of moving up to the national team?
Um, well, yeah, it was actually 2 years after I finished school. So
Oh, 2 years. Sorry.
uh, when I finished school, I gave swimming away for 6 or so months, and was in the construction industry doing a bit of labouring and was enjoying that. And then I got an email notifying me about an international classification opportunity. So I decided to jump back in the water and jump back in about the end of 2018 and got classified and all that. And then, yeah, it was a bit surreal getting picked on the Australian team in 2019, having only come back for about 6 months.
Ah, sure. So you just mentioned with the classifications, how, because a lot of people, including myself, are not really sure how with the Paralympics how those qualifications work. How do you get put into a particular qualification? Like, how does that work?
So there's a certain number. I'm not sure how many, but the the most selected are between 1 and 14. So 1 to 10 is a physical disability, means that you're physically disabled. 11 to 13 means that you're visually disabled, and 14 means intellectually disabled. So if you're an S1, it means say you have no arms and no legs, and you kind of just bob through the water, and all the way up to S10, and it kind of gradually increases with your ability. So an S10 means that you've got minimal disability that affects your swimming, and the same applies for 11 to 13. So 11s are completely blind, and 13s are only a little bit blind.
Okay, right. So that, yeah, because a lot of people are always wondering how they get classifications. So yeah, it's good learning those
Yeah.
qualifications. So so obviously the Tokyo Olympics that you would have competed at in 2020 got moved back a year. How was the training for that? Like how difficult was that period having it moved back 12 months?
Um, I wouldn't say that it was the worst thing. I reckon it was pretty beneficial to me, to be honest. It gave me an extra year to kind of to get in and train a bit harder, um, and just get some more out of myself. I wasn't fully developed when I was at 19, 20, and come 2021, I was a year older, 1 year more mature, and yeah, I really feel as though it just benefited me in that sense.
Sure. So how so you competed 2 weeks after the Olympics. Australia and the Olympic team obviously killed it. They and then you came in. Then you guys came in. Was that motivation for you to do well that the Olympic swimming team did so well? Was that motivation for you in the Paralympic team as well?
To be completely honest, I didn't really watch much of the Olympics. All that I kind of knew was that we were there to get a job done, and and that's what I really feel as though the entire team achieved. We all got our job done and put in 100% into our racing.
Well, with that, you definitely had a very successful Paralympics. You like I mentioned earlier, you won 3 gold. You also won a silver. But with those 3 golds, I believe you actually broke 2 world records and a Paralympic record. You certainly didn't go half like you. It seemed like you weren't just content with winning gold. You just wanted to break records as well, because that just seemed like what you did.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you want to be the best in the world, you have to have the best time in the world, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. 'Cause what was that like? Knowing that you broke because you broke the world record in the freestyle relay as well as the 400, and then I'm sorry, the 400 was a Paralympic record, and it was a butterfly that broke the world record. What was that like breaking those records?
Uh, I just felt like any other race, really. I kind of just got to the end of the race and went, oh, thank God that's over. And then you kind of look up at the board and go, oh, there you go, just a bit extra add. There's a WR next to the name or a PR next to the name. So that did feel pretty cool. But yeah, in all honesty, I was just kind of there to race and get the job done.
What was the team's reaction? Were they giving you a big celebration when you got back? Knowing that you had won broken those records.
Yeah, the team was pretty over the moon about it. I think they were a bit more excited than I was, to be completely honest.
Yeah, right. So you've obviously been quite an inspiration because you said you have your motivation as the famous Rocky quote saying, "Life's not what is it? It's not life's not as how hard you can hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward." What about that? You've obviously been hit pretty hard. Like as you said, you've had the stroke. What keeps you go? Like, what is it about that quote that you find so motivating?
Well, it's pretty much just what you said there. Back when I was young, I was hit pretty hard, and I could have let that hit knock me out, or I could have just got back up and kept going with things. And that's the kind of outlook that I have on life. You know, you get hit by something and you just got to get back up and keep punching on. You can't just fall to the ground and just give up. You have to make sure that you're really putting 100% into your life.
And just moving back one step again, like say, obviously with the going back to the Paralympics, everyone there's had something happen to them. What was it like that whole week or 2 weeks? You guys just absolutely killed it. Believe you had 21 gold medals in the whole team across all sports. What was it like in that atmosphere having? Because obviously, usually the swimming you just around usually the swimmers. What was it like to have, the athletics and all the other sports there as well?
To be completely honest, we didn't really have too much to do with, say, the athletics or the cyclists or the ping pong players throughout the competition. We kind of just stuck within our own groups. And it wasn't really until the last night that we were in Tokyo that we all sort of got together and got to all meet each other.
And like, was it a big celebration celebrating the achievements that you all
Yeah,
had?
it was just a huge celebration with everybody, so that was pretty fun.
The one thing that I really noticed about this Olympics is that the whole both the Olympics and Paralympics team is that Australia really got around the team, and really for the first time ever really got around the Paralympic team, because I still remember when I was in year 11 in 2012, which was the London Olympics. Whoever had the TV rights, I think it was still Channel 7 back then, had wall to wall coverage of the Olympics, but with the Paralympics, it was just a highlight reel. Like, I think it was like a 2 hour highlight reel. They didn't really take much notice of the Paralympics, and the same thing happened in Rio. So that was only 10 years ago, and what was it, 6 years ago? Did you feel like it was a lot different this time around, that people actually, the general public really got around the Paralympic team like they never had before?
Yeah, I really think that COVID was kind of a blessing in disguise for the Paralympic movement, just because everyone was sort of stuck at home, had had nothing else to do, and Channel 7 had decided to televise it, and people started watching it and going, oh wow, these people are actually pretty cool, like, and started getting into the spirit of the Paralympics, which I think it's a pretty special thing for us now, and moving forward, hopefully the Paralympic Games becomes as big as the Olympic Games across every country, not just Australia.
Do you reckon that could happen? Because it seems like, sorry, that especially in a lot of other Western nations, they actually start taking people with disabilities a little bit more seriously. Do you reckon that the Paralympics could potentially in the future really become as big as the Olympics?
Yeah, I think it has potential to. A lot of people that I talk to, they they're always talking about how good it is to watch the Paralympics and just see all the people's stories of what people have had to go through to get to that point in their life.
I think the biggest thing that this is from my perspective from now outside looking in, a lot of people I don't think realize how good of athletes you guys actually were. I think a lot of people thought, you guys had disabilities, so you guys are not quite as good or whatever, and then that really changed after Tokyo. So I've just got a little bit in the throat. Sorry.
Bit of COVID.
Did you? Hope not. Did you find that like people just were kind of ignorant to the fact of how good of athletes and how much training you guys actually do?
Well, to be completely honest, I never really knew about the Paralympics up until about 2016, 2017. I'd never watched a Paralympics in my entire life, and my swim coach had actually introduced me to it. He said, "Oh, Will, have you ever considered going down the para line with your sport just because of your disability?" And I kind of went, "Oh, yeah, I suppose I can look into it." So I did a little bit of research on what it was and kind of went, "Oh wow, this is actually a pretty good movement. Hopefully, it becomes something big soon."
And then you've also continued your success. So, because I didn't until I really researched details for this podcast with you, I didn't even realize that there was a Paralympics World Champions in swimming. I thought it was mainly the Paralympics and there wasn't many events in between it. And then I saw that you did quite well. You got a silver and a bronze this year. What was that like competing at the World Championships?
It was a bit more relaxed than the Paralympic Games, but it was still a pretty fun trip. We were over in Madeira, a little island off the coast of Morocco. So it's part of Portugal, but it's closer to Africa, which was pretty cool. And we went over there for about 2 weeks and really enjoyed it, and yeah, competed at that, and didn't do quite as well as I'd hoped, but considering the kind of training that I've been doing for the past for the lead up to it, it was kind of expected to just pick up the silver and the bronze.
Do you prefer that you guys are a little bit separated from the fully able-bodied people, that like you kind of got your own thing, whereas that you're not always linked to the other world championships?
Yeah, I mean it's got its benefits and drawbacks. We're a pretty relaxed team when we're all together. We're all having a bit of fun with each other and throwing a bit of banter at each other. And I don't really know too much about the able-bodied team, but I kind of enjoy just spending time with the para guys. But in a couple of weeks, we'll be over in Birmingham at the Commonwealth Games with the able-bodied guys as well. So the para guys and the able-bodied guys all come together, and we compete as one at the Com Games.
Do you? Sorry, sorry. This is really getting bad. Sorry, I'm really sorry about this. Do you prefer that do compete together, whereas you compete at the same time, or do you prefer that separation?
I do enjoy the separations. I wouldn't know which one I prefer, just because I've never really competed at the same time as the able body.
Okay. And where to next for you? Like, what do you think you're gonna go from here?
So yeah, I've got the Com Games in Birmingham in a couple of weeks' time, and next year there's another World Championships event in Manchester, and then in 2024, hopefully on to the Paralympic Games again in France.
Do you reckon you'll have about the same schedule that you did in Tokyo, having the same similar kind of events, or are you gonna pull back a couple of events, add a couple of events? What do you think you'll do?
I think I'll be sticking with the same kind of events. I can't do backstroke to save myself, and I can't do breaststroke either, so I'll have to stick with the butterfly and freestyle.
Do you have a favorite stroke?
It'd have to be butterfly, just because I think it's the most majestic of the strokes.
Okay. So, and you, it looks like from what I saw, you got very obviously there have been a few retirements from the Paralympics to Birmingham, but it looks like it's a similar team. How do you guys welcome the new guys as well as farewell the old like the ones that are retiring?
Well, we have a bit of a rookie induction every time that there's a new competition on. So that's where we hand out the caps, and then after that we go and sing the national anthem, and the rookies kind of get in the middle of the circle, and they're all looking at us, and we're all looking at them as they sing the national anthem alongside us. And I'm not too sure about how we go about the retirees. I haven't personally been on a team with someone that's retiring, but we'll see what happens after this Com Games.
Sure. So, outside of the sport, you said that you did a little bit of labouring and that kind of thing. What other interests do you have outside of swimming?
I have a bit of interest in woodworking, so I do a fair bit of woodworking jobs around the house. I kind of build shelves and chopping blocks, and even built some awnings for the front of the house. So I kind of use that to kill my time in the middle of the day when I'm not training. And alongside that, I have done a bit of labouring for a carpenter and a paver.
Okay, and I'm assuming most of the teams that have something similar, where they either do a university course or they do something along that line as well.
Yeah, most of the teams pretty much the same. They either go to work or they go to uni. Yeah,
sure. So, yeah, it's an interesting time for the Paralympians, just simply because of what happened in Tokyo. With you guys really, being pushed through and people actually taking note. I really hope it really takes off for you guys, because you guys show that you guys are incredible athletes. So I really hope that this momentum from Tokyo really keeps up. I did quite enjoy it. A lot of people did enjoy it. A lot of people were amazed at how good you guys actually were.
And it was especially good being kind of in the same time zone as Australia too.
Yeah,
To have it
exactly.
on at prime time at night or something like that, which will be a bit more difficult when it comes around to the Paris games, when we'll be racing and it'll be 2 o'clock in the morning here in Australia.
Yeah, exactly. And I just, hopefully, I know you guys in Queensland have all the sporting, but I hope down a little bit south of the border where I am in New South Wales, I hope we get a few more on the team, and a little bit more, because you guys just seem to have the best training up in Queensland. What makes Queensland so good at there with the training? Because all the athletes, even if they're from New South Wales or around Australia, they always seem to go up to Queensland. What is it about Queensland that has such good training comparatively?
I just think it's just Queensland. Queenslanders are tough, not like those New South Welsh guys up in Queensland. Um, I think it's just the perfect training environment. Really, it's always sunny except for today. But other than that, it's always sunny. It's always nice and warm, and just a great days to be outside.
Yeah, exactly. Um, so I wrap the podcast up here. So thank you very much for coming on. I really do appreciate coming on. You're a great guy to speak to. Really hope that you keep going up, upwards and onwards from here. There, hopefully Australia keeps cheering you guys on, because really, you guys deserve to be cheered on by the rest of Australia. Will, thanks for coming. Thanks for
Thanks for
coming
having
on.
me on the show, Stephen.
Thank you very much.